Life here is simple, uneventful, just the way old farmer Hank likes it. He spends his days tending to his crops, chatting with his dog, and minding his own business. But tonight, the peace is shattered. A gang of outlaws rides into town, their laughter echoing across the valley. They're looking for trouble, and Hank's humble farm is their next target. To them, Hank is just another quiet farmer, easy prey for their mischief. But what they don't know is that Hank wasn't always just a farmer. Years ago, he was a name whispered in fear across the Wild West, a legend who walked away from the gunslinging life to find peace. As the gang closes in, the tension builds. Is Hank's quiet life about to unravel, or will the outlaws learn the hard way who they've underestimated? The gang dismounts, their boots crunching against the gravel as they approach Hank's farmhouse. Their leader, a cocky man with a toothpick between his lips, smirks as he surveys the modest property. "This'll be easy," he mutters, motioning for his men to spread out. Inside, Hank hears the faint sounds of voices and footsteps, his weathered hands pausing mid-motion as he finishes securing the barn door. He's been in enough situations to know when trouble is brewing. What the outlaws see as a lonely, unguarded farmer is far from the truth. Hank's old rifle hangs on the wall inside, a relic of his past he hoped he'd never need again. But tonight, the memories of those days come flooding back, long nights on the trail, standoffs under the blazing sun, and a name that once made grown men hesitate. Outside, the gang gets closer, their laughter fading into something sharper, more threatening. Hank tightens his grip on the barn latch, heart steadied but gaze sharp. Hank steps back into the farmhouse, his movements deliberate and quiet. The air feels heavier now, filled with the weight of what's to come. From the window, he can see the outlaws scattering across his land, their shadows long against the fading light. One of them picks up a rake and laughs, tossing it aside like it's a game. Another kicks over a bucket, the clang echoing through the stillness. They're testing the waters, pushing to see how far they can go. Hank's dog, an old shepherd with a sharp sense of loyalty, lets out a low growl from under the table. Hank kneels beside him, scratching behind his ears to keep him calm. "Easy now," he whispers. "Let's not give 'em what they're looking for just yet." But as the gang's leader strides toward the porch, his boots deliberately heavy on the steps, Hank knows the moment for talk is slipping away. The leader shouts, his voice dripping with arrogance. "Hey, old man, you got anything worth our time, or are we just wasting our boots on this dirt pile?" Inside, Hank's gaze shifts to the rifle on the wall. His hand hovers, torn between the life he left behind and the one he's trying to protect. The outlaws are closer now, their laughter replaced by sharp orders and impatient grumbles. Hank takes a deep breath. This land is his. This peace is his, and he's not about to lose it without a fight. The leader leans against the porch railing, his smirk widening as he taps his revolver against his thigh. "Come on, old-timer," he taunts, his voice cutting through the quiet. "You don't want to make us wait, do you?" His men chuckle, spreading out like wolves surrounding prey. One starts rummaging through a pile of tools near the barn, while another eyes the farmhouse windows, daring something, anything, to happen. Inside, Hank's chest tightens. The echoes of his past seem to stir in the room, memories of nights where quick decisions meant life or death. He reaches for the rifle, its cold steel a reminder of who he used to be. His fingers linger for a moment before he takes it down, moving with the precision of someone who's done this too many times before. The dog lets out another low growl, sensing the rising tension. Hank whispers again, this time more for himself. "Just one more time, one last time." Suddenly, a loud crash shatters the silence. One of the outlaws kicks in the barn door, sending splinters flying. Hank flinches, his grip tightening on the rifle. The leader's smirk vanishes, replaced by a look of irritation. "We're losing patience. Old man," he shouts. Hank steps to the door, his shadow stretching across the porch. For a moment, the world seems to hold its breath. The gang freezes, their eyes narrowing as the figure of the quiet farmer comes into view. The rifle rests easily in Hank's hands, but his stance is anything but casual. "I wouldn't take another step if I were you," Hank says, his voice calm yet cutting. The gang's leader hesitates, his bravado faltering for just a second. The quiet farmer doesn't look so quiet anymore. The air grows thick with anticipation, every second stretching endlessly as both sides prepare for what comes next. Before anyone can make a move, the sound of a rifle cocking cuts through the tension. It's not Hank's. From the shadows near the barn, a new figure steps into the fading light. A young woman, her features sharp and determined, holds a shotgun steady in her hands. The gang's surprise is palpable as she levels her weapon at them. "You've made a mistake coming here," she says, her voice steady, each word a warning. Hank's jaw tightens, but there's a glimmer of something in his eyes. Recognition. The woman steps closer, her gaze flickering to him for the briefest moment before locking back on the gang. "You thought you were picking on a helpless farmer," she continues, her voice unwavering. "But you don't know who you're dealing with." The gang shifts uneasily, their confidence cracking under the weight of this unexpected turn. The leader's smirk falters, his hand twitching near his holster. "Who are you?" he demands, his bravado slipping. The woman doesn't answer. Instead, she takes another step forward, the shotgun still aimed. Hank exhales slowly, the weight of this new development settling in. He knows her, knows exactly what she's capable of. And if the gang wasn't already in over their heads, they are now. The stakes have changed, and the tension rises to a fever pitch. The leader's hand hovers over his holster, his confidence teetering. His men shift nervously, glancing between Hank and the young woman, unsure whether to stand their ground or retreat. The air is thick with tension, every second stretching into an eternity. Hank finally speaks, his voice calm but commanding. "I don't want to hurt anyone," he says, the weight of his words sinking in. "But if you take another step, this ends badly for you." The leader chuckles, a forced, hollow sound. "Big talk," he sneers. "Let's see if you can back it up." His hand moves for his gun, but before he can draw, two shots ring out, one from Hank's rifle, the other from the woman's shotgun. The leader's weapon clatters to the ground, his wrist nicked by Hank's shot, while the second bullet blasts the dirt at his feet, forcing him to stumble back. The gang freezes, their bravado shattered. One by one, they drop their weapons, raising their hands in surrender. The leader, clutching his injured wrist, glares at Hank and the woman. "Who are you people?" he growls through clenched teeth. Hank steps forward, lowering his rifle but keeping a steady grip. "Just a farmer trying to live in peace," he says, his voice low. Then with a glance at the young woman, he adds, "And my daughter, who clearly takes after her old man." The leader's eyes widen as he realizes the truth, but before he can respond, the woman speaks. "Leave now," she says, her voice sharp as a blade, "and tell everyone what happens when you mess with this farm." The outlaws don't need to be told twice. Scrambling to their horses, they ride off into the night, their leader muttering curses under his breath. As the dust settles, Hank turns to his daughter, a mix of pride and concern in his eyes. "I thought you were staying in the city," he says. She shrugs, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "Guess I picked the right night to visit." Together, they stand on the porch, watching the horizon. The quiet returns, but this time it feels earned. As the last of the gang disappears into the night, the farm falls silent again, save for the faint rustle of the wind through the fields. Hank leans his rifle against the porch railing and turns to his daughter, a rare softness in his expression. "You didn't have to come back for me," he says quietly. She smiles, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I think you had it under control," she replies, "but I wasn't about to take any chances." They sit on the porch steps, the weight of the night slowly lifting. The old shepherd trots over, settling at Hank's feet with a contented sigh. For a moment, neither of them speaks, both lost in thought. Finally, Hank chuckles. "Guess the quiet life isn't as quiet as I'd hoped." His daughter laughs, the sound warm and full of life. "Maybe not," she says, "but you're never alone out here. Remember that." As the first stars begin to dot the sky, Hank feels a deep sense of gratitude. The farm may have seen trouble tonight, but it's also seen something stronger: family, resilience, and the unspoken bond that holds it all together.